The Nike ZoomX Invincible. The good, the bad, and ugly. Let's talk about it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the vlog. My name is Filip Latocha, and today we are going to be discussing the Nike ZoomX Invincible after 100 plus miles. But before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. You guys know the rest. We've already broken 800 subs on this channel, so we're almost there to 1,000 plus, but it's going to take a little bit of work. So if it's your first time watching the video, please subscribe. And for those who are already subscribed and been actively watching this content, thanks guys, love you very much. So without further ado, let's talk about this shoe after 100 plus miles. First things first, let's talk about what the bottom of the shoes look like. So obviously this is the tradition here on this channel, and if I can hold these shoes properly, let's see. Here we go. This is the left foot overall, you can see. And this is the right foot, as you can see. And with that in mind, of course, we always look at the right foot first because this is the one that has a slight, I guess, pivot to the outside as I run for whatever reason, whether it be the style of road that I'm running on or it's just something in my ankle that kind of tweaks the side that way. That's basically just kind of what we're looking at. So as you can see in this area, there is a bit of shred here after 100 plus miles, as I kind of expected. And this area that I was looking with great interest, we're going to be talking about that real soon. But yeah, of course, as you can see, overall, the bottoms of the shoe have been holding up pretty well. This area right here is just pretty shaven off, but because there's still a lot of additional rubber to work with, we're not experiencing any sort of slip at this point. So that's a good plus, for sure. The next thing, of course, that we should talk about is this green spot right here. So this is something I had to observe from other videos and other content creators' reactions to this shoe because I wanted to see if we had a similar consensus to things. And I think we agree for the most part on one particular thing, and that is that there is some dead spots on this shoe when you strike the ground. One of those spots for sure is in this toe box area. So if you strike the ground here and you expect some kind of return, it's probably not going to happen. And here's the thing, of course, that I've also noticed is that it's pretty hard to strike in this area because of how much foam there is in the back of the shoe. It ultimately kind of levels you out, and it's going to cause this midfoot strike, which is the optimal place to definitely strike with this shoe because of the roll you're going to experience later on. That being said, heel striking this shoe, again, I'm not a big fan of that idea. There's definitely a lot of ZoomX on the bottom to assist with that, but you're not going to get the optimal roll out of the shoe if you heel strike with it, and especially because the ZoomX is so wobbly and so unstable because there's such a huge chunk of it. It's going to feel pretty odd on your foot, and I imagine it's going to give your Achilles a bit of a strain, maybe some of the side pieces of your ankle or the interior side. It's probably not great to heel strike in it for sure, but it is ultimately kind of tough to get a midfoot, forefoot strike out of it anyways because, again, how much foam is in the back and how much it weighs there. Let's talk about the good stuff. So, of course, the ZoomX overall as a daily trainer in this kind of build, it's very fun, it's very fast. The only issue, as I've mentioned before, I'm going to keep to this opinion, is that it is extremely unstable at slower and, of course, fast speeds. Because any sort of little tweak on the side, the foam just will sink in that area, or it's going to kick back in a certain way. So if you have some sore ankles like I do, at least in this case with my right ankle, I will experience a little bit of soreness every time I hit the ground, and it will be tender afterwards, but I like to think that it's getting stronger as a result rather than running in like something stable and neutral in that sense. So yeah, as I am hitting the side, it definitely does want to sink out a little bit more and kind of just be really unstable in that sense. I have been pretty good about trying to run with this shoe every other day just to give this foam a little bit of time to rest. I like to think that the ZoomX needs a little bit of time to decompress afterwards. Otherwise, it does feel more dead at certain times of your run. So, like I mentioned before, this toe box area definitely feels like a dead spot because if you hit this ground, it just, there's not enough, I would say, material here. And especially this green piece, which this is what I was talking about earlier. This is definitely some kind of dead spot, in my opinion, on the shoe. And that being said, I would like to give this shoe probably like an every other day type of run. So for example, if I ran with this today, I'm going to run in like either the Peg Turbo 2, maybe the Hyperion Elite if I'm feeling fast, or the Tempo Next Percent. That's going to be probably the move, and then the day afterwards I'll take this out for a spin. So that's kind of what I think is kind of weird about the shoe, for sure, in relation to my previous style, or my current style of running in this case, overall. So what else is good on the shoe? Of course, I think the Flyknit overall, it's got a lot going on with it, but I think it's nice and secure. And again, I think the consensus that most of us have come to the conclusion of is that this is a very strange Flyknit overall. It's different. Even though they call it Flyknit, we don't think it's necessarily the same Flyknit we experienced in like 2017, 2018, and so forth. But it's not bad. It's definitely a woolly coat on the shoe, which isn't a big deal when it's like a cooler run like I had today. But if you're running when it's a little bit warmer, this will definitely start collecting a little bit of sweat, and then the breathability of the shoe becomes extremely questionable. That's my take from personal experience with this particular pair, at least. The shoelaces I mentioned before, they are quite thick, and it is pretty hard to tie a double knot in this shoe, even when you lock it down all the way as best as you can. So maybe moving forward, I will consider replacing the shoelaces with something thinner, maybe pull it off like the Vaporfly Next Percents that I have, and just try to slide them in here, and hopefully that'll be a good run overall. The cushioning in the back, I love it a lot. It's very comfortable. It doesn't cut into my Achilles heel at all. The Achilles pillow, of course, in the shoe, very snug, a lot of cushion. Definitely like it very much still, and I think it's going to be very comfortable when it comes to the longer runs if I try to bring this onto a longer run. The one interesting thing with this shoe, maybe this is just more of my problem, but it's something I've noticed overall, is that about halfway through my run, it does start feeling like the shoe loses a little bit of its ZoomX, I'm going to say, momentum. So I'll start off the run maybe with like a positive split, and then the half-life of the shoe starts just dying off really quickly. And I don't know if it's a ZoomX thing. I don't know if it's just because I'm fatiguing necessarily with the shoe. But overall, it feels like I'm losing a lot of speed halfway through my workout, and I have to work a little bit harder, dig a little bit deeper to get the compression and decompression out of the ZoomX that I'm expecting. So I don't know if this is a big trend in ZoomX shoes. I haven't particularly paid attention to it, but it's very likely that there is some sort of power loss overall that's occurring with the ZoomX foam. That it's not quite like the React, where it's going to be reliable and whatever you put into it is what you get out of it. It's like something's happening where the foam just keeps kind of sinking and sinking to the point where you're losing the prime decompression as you launch it off the ground with the shoe ultimately. So I don't know, that's just something I'm paying attention to, but overall, again, I'll have to continue experimenting. Maybe it's just my problem that, of course, I'm just getting weaker if I'm running positive splits and I'm having a hard training day or something. The last thing, of course, I think we'll talk about is that, of course, I mentioned this in a previous video, the toe box does kind of run a little bit wide, so if you want to drop down that half size, go for it. It's not the worst deal, but again, I'm running this in 8.5, and I think overall it's a good time. I don't have like wide feet whatsoever. I just do feel that there's a little bit of wiggle room here and there, and that's just something I do pay attention to. So overall, my thoughts at 100 plus miles, the shoe is still very reliable, still durable. There's no rips on the outside. The bottoms are experiencing a little bit of wear in the places where I expect them to get some wear. And as I'm continue running with the shoes in these areas where I'm paying attention with great interest, I'm starting to realize that you have to run slightly differently in this shoe to get the most out of it. But once you do get the most out of it, it seems like the shoe is just a great overall daily speed fast trainer. And I think that's what you want. It's like something that's daily, something that's fast, but it doesn't feel like you're running fast necessarily, or it doesn't feel like you're exerting too much energy. I think this is a good shoe to go in that place. But again, I have to continue experimenting to make sure that the ZoomX is just not necessarily losing power over the duration of my workouts, that the ZoomX will start decompressing less and less and start getting smushed, and then as a result I have to give the shoe maybe like a day to, you know, relax and recompress itself so I can get the full benefits of it later. That's something I'll experiment with maybe for the 150, maybe 200 plus mile video, but overall that's kind of my takes on this shoe right now. I still love it. I'm still going to be using it as a daily trainer. And yeah, we're just going to continue experimenting with this shoe, continue training with it, because lots of cool stuff obviously coming up, and I need a daily trainer. And this one so far is doing exactly what I thought it would do. And yeah, I'm just pleasantly surprised with what has happened so far, and I am intrigued by, of course, the ZoomX foam's durability and its feeling overall with at least as much as ZoomX. So I think that's all I've got for now. If you have any questions about the shoe at 100 plus miles, definitely let me know in the comments below. We'll discuss, we'll talk about it. Let me know how you guys like your ZoomX Invincibles if you've got a pair. And if the wear looks very similar in this like toe box and like side area, you know how these things go. I like to get people's takes on how they're experiencing their ZoomX Invincibles and whatnot. So that's all I've got for now. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys real soon.